The galaxy was built on rules, and the oldest rule was clear to every thinking species. No ship was allowed to enter the forbidden zone. That region of space was dark, silent, and empty on every star map. Long ago, powerful civilizations agreed to seal it forever. They said nothing lived there. They said nothing could survive there. And most important of all, they said that if anyone entered that space, the galaxy itself could fall into chaos. For thousands of years, that rule was never broken. Until now. At the edge of the galaxy, deep inside a massive observation station, alien commanders watched their screens in calm silence. The station belonged to no single species. It was neutral ground, built to protect peace. Hundreds of sensors scanned space every second, searching for threats, errors, or strange signals. Most days were quiet. Too quiet. But on this day, something changed. A small warning light blinked on one screen. At first, no one noticed. Then another light appeared. And another. Slowly, officers turned their attention to the main display. The sensors were picking up a shape. It was impossible. The object was coming from the forbidden zone. At first, the system marked it as an error. The officers recalibrated their machines. They ran checks again and again. The shape did not disappear. Instead, it became clearer. Long, heavy, solid. A ship. Silence filled the control room. No one spoke. No one moved. Every species in the room understood what this meant. Something had entered forbidden space and survived. That alone was enough to shake the galaxy. As the image sharpened, fear replaced confusion. The ship was not like any known design. It was not smooth or elegant like most alien vessels. It looked old, dark, and strong. Thick armor covered its body. No visible weapons powered up. No shields glowed. It drifted forward with calm control, as if it had every right to be there. The ship gave off no clear energy signal, yet it was clearly active. The computers could not read its technology. That made the fear deeper. Unknown technology always meant danger. One of the senior commanders finally spoke. His voice was low and unsteady. "Run a history scan," he ordered. "Match the design to any known race." The system worked fast, searching ancient records and forgotten wars. Seconds felt like hours. Then a single word appeared on the main screen. Human. The room went completely silent. Some officers stepped back. Others stared in disbelief. Humans were not supposed to exist anymore. They were spoken of in old stories and war records. A race known for survival, stubborn strength, and dangerous creativity. A race that once fought the galaxy and vanished without a trace. Fear spread quickly through the station. Humans were unpredictable. When they fought, they did not fight to win territory. They fought to endure. The last time humans were involved in a galactic conflict, entire fleets were destroyed in strange ways. After that war, humans disappeared. Some believed they were extinct. Others believed they left the galaxy. A few feared they were waiting. And now, a human warship had appeared from the one place no one dared to go. Alarms began to sound across nearby systems. Messages were sent to the Galactic Council. Fleets were placed on alert. But no one dared to fire. The human ship did not act like an enemy. It did not charge weapons. It did not send threats. It simply moved forward, slow and steady, as if the galaxy itself was watching and it knew it. Every sensor focused on it, yet the ship ignored them all. That calm behavior made it more frightening than any attack. As the warship crossed deeper into a loud space, something strange happened. Communication channels across the sector went quiet. Not jammed. Not destroyed. Just silent. Even background cosmic noise faded for a moment. Pilots later said it felt like the universe was holding its breath. The forbidden zone behind the ship remained dark and still, as if it had closed its eyes again. The message was clear. Whatever came from that place did not belong to normal space. Finally, a signal reached the station. It was simple, clean, clear. No threat codes. No encryption. Just a short message sent on an open channel. The commanders hesitated before opening it. When they did, a calm human voice filled the room. It spoke slowly, in perfect translated speech. "Do not be afraid," the voice said. "We did not come to conquer." The officers listened, frozen in place. The voice continued. "We entered the Forbidden Zone because we were invited." No one understood what that meant. Invited by who? Or by what? Before anyone could respond, the signal ended. The human warship continued its path toward the heart of the galaxy. Behind it, the Forbidden Zone remained silent. Ahead of it, the galaxy waited in fear, knowing that an ancient rule had been broken, and that nothing would ever be the same again. Across the galaxy, the name human spread faster than any warning signal. In council halls, command bridges, and deep military bunkers, leaders stopped what they were doing and listened. Many of them had never seen a human, but all of them knew the stories. The stories were old, passed down through records and quiet lessons, told as warnings rather than history. Humans were a young race once, weak compared to others, but they learned fast. When they were attacked, they did not surrender. When they were cornered, they did not beg. They adapted, they endured, and they turned loss into weapons. That memory returned now like a cold shadow. The appearance of a human warship from the Forbidden Zone forced the galaxy to face a past it wanted to forget. The Galactic Council gathered in emergency session. Massive holograms of different species filled the chamber, their faces tense and afraid. Some demanded immediate attack. Others argued for silence. No one agreed. The Forbidden Zone had been sealed after the last human war, when strange experiments and unknown forces nearly tore space apart. Humans were blamed for opening doors that should never be touched. When they vanished, the galaxy sealed that space and declared it cursed. Now a human ship had come out of it, untouched, calm, and powerful. That alone suggested the humans had learned something the rest of the galaxy did not understand. Military commanders reviewed old battle data. Human ships were not the strongest, not the fastest, but they were stubborn. Humans used tactics that made no sense at first. They sacrificed ships to gain time. They used damaged weapons in creative ways. They turned enemy technology against its owners. Worst of all, they never gave up. When defeat was certain, humans changed the rules of the fight. Many species still carried scars from those battles. Some worlds were never rebuilt. The fear was not of human strength, but of human will. As fleets prepared defensive lines, scouts followed the human warship from a distance. They reported the same strange facts. The ship still showed no raised shields, no weapons charged, no hostile signals. It moved like a traveler, not an invader. That behavior confused everyone. A species known for war would not enter guarded space without defense. Some began to wonder if the ship was not here to fight the galaxy, but to face something else. That thought made many leaders uneasy. Inside the human warship, the crew moved with quiet purpose. They did not rush. They did not celebrate. They followed routines practiced long ago. The captain stood on the bridge, eyes fixed on the stars ahead. He remembered the past clearly. The galaxy had feared humans and pushed them away. The Forbidden Zone became a prison and a shield at the same time. Humans learned the truth inside that darkness. They learned why the space was forbidden. And now, the time of watching was over. Back in the council chamber, arguments grew louder. One elder species finally spoke with shaking calm. "If the humans return from that place," it said, "then the danger is not the humans. The danger is what they were guarding." The room fell silent. That idea spread quickly. The Forbidden Zone was never empty. It was contained. Humans did not break the rule out of pride. They broke it out of duty. That possibility frightened the council more than war ever could. Suddenly, new readings appeared. Space behind the human ship showed small distortions. Not attacks. Not explosions. Something was moving, slowly, as if waking up. Sensors struggled to understand it. The data did not match known physics. Scientists panicked. Engineers whispered old theories once dismissed as myths. The human warning echoed in many minds. We were invited. The meaning began to feel heavy and dangerous. A request for communication was sent to the human ship. This time, the reply came quickly. The same calm voice spoke again. It did not sound proud or angry. It sounded tired. Long ago, the voice said, we stood where you stand now. We ignored the signs. We paid the price. We stayed behind so you would not have to. The message paused, then continued. What sleeps in forbidden space does not fear fleets. It fears preparation. The channel closed again. The council members looked at one another, understanding too late that their peace was built on human sacrifice. Fleets were ordered not to attack, but to follow. The galaxy did not know if it was walking toward salvation or destruction. But one truth was clear now. The humans had not returned for revenge. They had returned because the past was no longer willing to stay silent. The human warship moved deeper into controlled space, and the galaxy reacted with fear and force. Defensive fleets formed long lines between the ship and the core worlds. Massive cruisers, carriers, and weapon platforms took position, their guns charged and shields glowing bright. Thousands of commanders waited for the order to fire. Every tactical screen showed the same strange truth. The human ship still showed no hostile action. No weapons powered up. No shields activated. It moved forward at constant speed, ignoring the largest military response the galaxy had ever assembled. From a distance, alien sensors tried to read the human vessel. They failed again and again. Power levels stayed flat. Weapon ports showed no energy flow. Even its engines appeared quiet. And yet, the ship moved with perfect control. Engineers whispered that the ship might be using a form of technology beyond known science. Others feared it was hiding its true power. Both ideas were terrifying. A ship that did not need to show strength was far more dangerous than one that did. Commanders debated firing a warning shot. Some argued that allowing the ship to pass showed weakness. Others warned that attacking humans first had never ended well. History records were clear. The last time the galaxy fired first, human forces changed the nature of warfare forever. Silence filled many bridges as leaders remembered lost fleets and burning worlds. Fear held their fingers away from the firing controls. As the human ship approached the first defensive line, pilots felt something strange. Targeting systems struggled to lock on. Weapons refused to engage properly. It was not interference. It was as if the systems themselves did not want to fire. Engineers reported no faults, yet nothing worked as expected. The human warship passed between armed fleets untouched. The crews watched it glide by, dark and silent, like a shadow moving through light. Inside the human ship, the bridge remained calm. Officers watched alien fleets with respect, not hatred. The captain gave no order to raise shields. He knew fear would do more damage than weapons. The humans had learned long ago that power was not always shown through force. Sometimes, power was shown by walking through danger without flinching. Suddenly, a signal opened across all channels. It did not interrupt systems or cause alarms. It simply appeared, clear and impossible to block. A human voice spoke, calm and steady. It did not shout. It did not threaten. It spoke like a teacher addressing nervous students. "You are afraid," the voice said. "We understand. We were afraid too." Every bridge in the sector listened in silence. The voice continued. "You see our weapons sleeping and think we are weak. You see our shields dark and think we trust you. Both thoughts are wrong." The fleets tightened formation, but no one fired. The voice carried a quiet weight that pressed against every listener. "We do not raise weapons because this is not your war. And we do not raise shields because what comes cannot be stopped by walls of energy." Commanders demanded answers, but the human voice did not respond to questions. It continued on its own path. "Long ago, you sealed forbidden space and called it peace. We stayed behind and called it duty. What sleeps there learned our shape, our thoughts, our fears. It does not care about your fleets. It is waiting for silence to break." As the message ended, space ahead of the human ship twisted for a brief moment. Not enough to be seen clearly, but enough to shake sensors and nerves. A cold feeling passed through many crews, a sense of being watched. Veterans of past wars said it felt worse than facing an enemy fleet. This was not hatred. This was hunger. A junior commander finally gave the order to fire a test shot from a distant platform. The energy beam struck empty space near the human ship and vanished, as if swallowed. No explosion followed. No reaction came from the human vessel. But something changed. The distortion in space grew slightly stronger. Scientists screamed warnings. Whatever was beyond forbidden space was reacting. The human captain closed his eyes for a moment, then spoke again. This time his voice carried sadness. "Do not do that again," he said softly. "Every strike wakes it faster." The channel remained open for a second longer. "Stay behind us. If you wish to live, follow our path." The human warship increased speed for the first time. Engines still showed no visible power change, yet the ship moved faster, pulling ahead of the fleets. Commanders hesitated, then gave the order to follow. The galaxy had brought its greatest weapons, but it was now clear they would not lead this battle. As the fleets fell in behind the silent human ship, one truth settled into every mind. The humans were not marching toward war. They were walking toward something far worse, and they were the only ones who knew the way. The fleets followed the human warship in uneasy silence. No formation felt safe anymore. Sensors remained focused not on the human ship, but on the space around it. Commanders feared what they could not see more than what stood before them. The human vessel moved with purpose, leading the galaxy's strongest forces as if they were escorts instead of guards. Every kilometer they traveled felt like a step deeper into an unseen storm. The Galactic Council demanded answers. They needed truth, not warnings wrapped in mystery. A formal request for full communication was sent, carrying authority from every major civilization. This time, the human ship accepted. The signal expanded across all fleets and council halls. The same human voice spoke again, but now it carried weight, as if history itself was speaking through it. "Long before your borders, before your alliances," the voice began, "there was a silence older than stars. We found it by accident. You call it forbidden space. We called it a wound." Images appeared on shared displays. Ancient human ships, damaged and burning. Stars collapsing in strange ways. Space bending like liquid. The galaxy watched, unable to look away. The voice continued. "We did not understand it at first. We fought it like an enemy. We failed. Then we studied it. We listened." The images shifted to massive structures built deep in dark space. Human designs, rough and practical, built not to conquer but to contain. What lives there does not think as we do. It learns patterns. It waits. Every attack teaches it. Every fear feeds it. Fear moved through the fleets. Scientists whispered that the data made sense. Energy loss without impact. Weapons swallowed instead of blocked. This was not armor. This was absorption. The voice spoke again, steady and clear. "We stayed behind because someone had to. We became its noise, its focus, its distraction. While it watched us, it ignored you." Anger rose among council members. Humans had made the choice alone. They had hidden the truth. The voice answered before the accusation could be spoken. "You would not have listened. You were afraid of us. And we were afraid that if you touched it, you would wake it fully." The silence that followed was heavy with shame. As the fleets moved closer to the edge of known space, the distortions grew stronger. Space rippled like water under unseen pressure. Time readings drifted. Some crews reported hearing sounds that were not there. Others felt memories that were not their own. The voice returned, now urgent. "It is aware of you now. Curiosity is turning into hunger." The human captain appeared on screen for the first time. His face was calm, lined with age and experience. His eyes showed no fear, only resolve. "This is not a battle you win by force," he said. "It must be guided back to sleep. To do that, we must speak in the only language it understands. The council demanded to know the cost. The captain did not hesitate. "The cost is us," he said simply. "It learned from humans. It mirrors us. Only we can draw it away." The words struck like a blow. Humans were offering themselves again, not as soldiers, but as shields. Behind the fleets, space trembled. A massive shadow pressed against reality, still hidden, but growing. The human warship slowed, taking position at the front. Smaller human vessels emerged from hidden paths, appearing without warning. The humans had not come alone. They had prepared. The captain gave his final warning. "Stay behind the line we draw. Do not fire. Do not chase. If we fail, run. If we succeed, remember who stood for you." The channel closed. The galaxy watched as humans moved forward into the dark, carrying a burden no one else could bear. For the first time in centuries, the galaxy understood the truth. Humans were not the threat they feared. They were the reason the galaxy had survived this long. The darkness ahead was no longer empty. As the human ships advanced, space itself seemed to pull inward, as if the stars were afraid to shine. Sensors across every fleet screamed with impossible data. Distances twisted. Time stamps disagreed with each other. What lay ahead could not be measured by normal tools. The galaxy had faced many enemies before, but this was not an army or a fleet. It was a presence, vast and patient, stretching beyond vision. The human warship slowed and took position at the center of the formation. Around it, smaller human vessels spread out in a precise pattern. No commands were shouted. Every movement was calm and practiced. This was not their first time facing the darkness. The alien fleets stayed back, obeying the human warning. Even the most aggressive commanders understood now that firing weapons would only make things worse. Then the enemy revealed itself. Not as a shape, but as a change. Stars dimmed and vanished behind a growing wave of black distortion. Space folded inward, forming a deep void that swallowed light and sound. The presence did not roar or attack. It reached out slowly, testing reality like a hand touching water. Fear gripped every mind that sensed it. This was not hatred. This was hunger without emotion. A human voice spoke across all channels. "It is awake," the captain said. "Stay calm." The darkness reacted to the sound, rippling as if amused. Alien scientists watched in horror as their strongest sensors failed. Data collapsed into nonsense. One scout ship drifted too close, and in a silent moment, it vanished. No explosion. No debris. Just gone. The galaxy understood then. Weapons would not save them. Human ships finally powered up. Not weapons, but something else. Fields of controlled distortion formed around them, bending space gently instead of tearing it. The enemy responded immediately. Waves of pressure rolled outward, slamming into the human line. Smaller human vessels were crushed, their hulls folding as if made of paper. Yet they did not retreat. Each loss bought time. Each sacrifice shaped the battlefield. Alien commanders shouted orders to move in and help. The human captain cut them off. "Do not interfere," he said firmly. "You will only feed it." The darkness grew thicker, drawn to human signals, human movement, human presence. It was learning again. That was the plan. As the battle continued, the galaxy saw something terrifying and inspiring. Humans were not trying to destroy the enemy. They were guiding it, pulling its attention, shaping its focus. When the presence reached toward alien space, humans placed themselves in its path. When it grew too strong, they fell back, drawing it away. This was not war. It was containment under fire. Inside the human flagship, systems began to fail. Alarms rang for the first time. Hull breaches appeared. Crew members worked without panic, sealing sections, saving what they could. The captain watched the darkness grow larger on the main display. He knew they were running out of time. The enemy was adapting faster than expected. The human voice returned to the open channel, quieter now. "This is the enemy beyond stars," he said. "It has no name because names give comfort. It cannot be killed, only sealed. The captain paused. We will push it back to where it belongs. The darkness surged forward, stronger than before. A wave of distortion slammed into the flagship, tearing through armor and systems. The ship shook violently. Several human vessels were consumed, their final signals ending in silence. Alien fleets watched, frozen, unable to help. For the first time, many of them felt shame. Then the human captain gave the order everyone feared. Prepare the old weapons. Energy levels spiked in ways no alien sensor could understand. Space around the human ships began to glow faintly, marked by symbols older than known science. The enemy reacted instantly, pulling back for the first time. It sensed danger. The galaxy held its breath. The humans were about to use something they had sworn never to unleash again. Something built not to win wars, but to lock nightmares away. As the light grew brighter and the darkness trembled, one truth became clear. This battle would decide not who ruled the galaxy, but whether the galaxy would exist at all. The moment the old weapons awakened, space itself seemed to remember fear. Energy flowed through the human ships in silent waves, not bright or violent, but deep and heavy, like gravity given thought. Alien sensors could not read it. They only showed warnings, errors, and blank spaces where data should be. The darkness beyond the stars reacted at once, pulling inward as if bracing itself. For the first time since it appeared, it hesitated. Human ships moved into tighter formation. Damaged vessels remained in line, held together by fields that ignored broken metal and torn hulls. Crews continued their work with steady focus. There was no cheering, no anger. This was not revenge. This was responsibility. The captain stood on the bridge, his voice calm as he issued orders shaped by centuries of painful learning. The old weapons did not fire beams or missiles. They changed rules. Regions of space hardened like stone, locking the enemy's movement. Time slowed in controlled pockets, forcing the presence to react instead of act. Where the darkness tried to absorb energy, it found nothing to take. The weapons offered emptiness, a trap made of absence. The enemy thrashed, sending waves of distortion outward, but they broke against the human line like water against a cliff. Alien fleets watched in stunned silence. Their strongest weapons had failed without effect, yet the human response bent reality itself. Scientists struggled to understand. These were not machines built for war alone. They were built to correct mistakes, to close doors once opened by human curiosity. Every movement of the old weapons carried restraint. Power was used carefully, never more than needed. The enemy adapted quickly. It began to copy the distortions, pushing against the hardened regions, testing limits. Several human ships were crushed as the presence learned. Each loss was met with calm adjustment. New patterns formed. New barriers replaced old ones. Humans did not panic when plans failed. They expected failure. That was how they survived. Inside the flagship, systems reached critical levels. Engineers reported that the containment fields would not last much longer. The captain acknowledged the reports without hesitation. He had known the cost from the start. Humanity had always known. To guard the galaxy meant standing where no one else could stand. The darkness surged again, stronger, angrier now. It had learned enough to feel threat. It pushed forward with focused force, striking at the heart of the human formation. Several ships vanished instantly. The line shook but did not break. Humans tightened their formation, closing gaps, shielding alien space behind them. A human voice echoed across the fleets, firm and steady. "Do not fear what you see," the captain said. "Fear what we stop you from seeing." The words cut deep. The galaxy realized that this battle was only a surface ripple of something far worse. Human fleets began to fall back slowly, drawing the enemy toward the sealed region. The old weapons reshaped space behind them, guiding the presence like a current guides water. Every movement was deliberate. Every sacrifice bought distance. Alien commanders begged to assist, but no order was given. This was not a fight others could join. As the enemy was pulled closer to the forbidden zone, it resisted harder. Reality screamed under the strain. Stars flickered. Entire regions went dark. The captain gave a final series of commands. Human ships locked into position, forming a massive containment arc. The old weapons reached maximum output. For a moment, the galaxy saw the true scale of the enemy. A vast shape pressed against reality, too large to fully exist, stretching across dimensions. The sight broke many minds. But the humans did not look away. They had faced this horror before, alone. The captain took a deep breath. His ship shook violently as systems failed one by one. Still, his voice remained calm. "Hold the line," he said. "This ends now." The old weapons flared with controlled intensity, pushing the darkness back step by step. The enemy screamed without sound, its hunger turning to panic. Humanity was unleashed, not as conquerors, but as wardens. And the galaxy finally understood the terrible strength of a species that refused to abandon its duty, no matter the cost. As the enemy was forced backward, the strain on reality grew worse. Waves of distortion spread outward, reaching far beyond the battlefield. Entire star systems felt the pressure. Planets shook. Civilian stations lost power. Panic spread through worlds that had never known war. Alien leaders realized too late that even staying behind the human line was no longer enough. The enemy's presence alone was causing damage simply by existing. The human captain saw the data and understood immediately. His voice cut through every channel with clear authority. "Begin civilian protection protocols," he ordered. At once, something unbelievable happened. Human ships appeared across endangered systems without warning. They did not arrive through normal space lanes. They emerged from folded paths, stepping out of reality itself. The galaxy watched in shock as humans reached places no one else could reach in time. Human crews moved with speed and purpose. They guided evacuation ships, stabilized failing stars, and reinforced planets with temporary fields. They did not ask permission. They did not demand payment. They simply acted. Alien civilians watched human soldiers carry children, elders, and wounded strangers as if they were their own. Many aliens had feared humans for generations. Now those same humans stood between them and destruction. The enemy noticed this shift. Its hunger turned toward the weaker regions, drawn to fear and chaos. The presence reached out toward a cluster of civilian worlds, stretching reality thin. Human ships immediately moved to intercept. They placed themselves directly in its path, forming a shield of living metal and will. The enemy struck with crushing force. Human vessels shattered, their signals ending one by one. Still, more took their place. Alien commanders screamed orders to assist, unable to stand by any longer. This time, the human captain did not refuse. "Support evacuation only," he said. "Do not engage the presence." The fleets obeyed. Together, humans and aliens worked to save lives while the humans alone faced the darkness. The galaxy felt something change. Fear began to turn into respect. Inside the human flagship, damage reports became grim. Critical systems were failing. Entire sections were sealed off. Crew members were injured, exhausted, yet none asked to retreat. They had accepted this path long before the battle began. The captain walked through the bridge, placing a hand on each console, each crew member, grounding them with his calm presence. The enemy pushed harder, angered by resistance and sacrifice. It learned that humans would not run. That made them dangerous. Reality twisted violently as the presence tried to break through the human shield. Several evacuation routes collapsed. Human ships rerouted instantly, opening new paths, even as their own hulls cracked under pressure. A transmission reached the flagship from an alien world below. A civilian leader spoke through tears. "Why are you saving us?" the voice asked. "After everything, why?" The captain answered without hesitation. "Because someone once did not save us," he said. "We learned from that mistake." The words spread across the galaxy. On countless worlds, aliens watched humans fight and die for species that once feared and rejected them. Old hatred weakened. Old lies fell apart. The truth stood clear. Humans were not protecting the galaxy for power or control. They were protecting it because they could, and because no one else knew how. The enemy made one final attempt to break the line by striking multiple systems at once. Human fleets split, stretching themselves dangerously thin. Ships burned. Crews were lost. But evacuations succeeded. Planets survived. Civilizations lived on. The humans paid the price without complaint. As the last civilians were pulled to safety, the captain issued a new order, quiet and final. All remaining human vessels, fall back to primary containment. This was the moment many had feared. The humans could no longer protect everyone and fight forever. The next step would decide everything. Alien fleets watched as human ships regrouped near the Forbidden Zone, battered but unbroken. Behind them lay saved worlds and living billions. Ahead of them waited the enemy, wounded but not destroyed. The galaxy understood now that whatever happened next, humanity had already earned something greater than victory. They had earned the right to be remembered not as monsters of old wars, but as guardians who stood alone when the universe needed them most. The human fleets gathered near the edge of the Forbidden Zone, battered and scarred but unbroken. Silence stretched across space, heavy with the weight of anticipation. Every sensor flickered with warnings, every ship trembling under the pressure of the enemy's presence. The darkness beyond stars pulsed, reacting to the humans' every movement, learning, calculating, testing boundaries. The galaxy held its breath. It was not watching a battle anymore. It was witnessing a confrontation with the unimaginable. Inside the human flagship, the captain studied the enemy's distortions. Systems were failing faster than ever. Hull breaches spread, alarms blared, and crews moved with practiced urgency, sealing compartments, stabilizing energy fields, and keeping what remained alive. The captain did not panic. Every human knew the truth. This would not end without sacrifice. The old weapons they had deployed were not infinite. They could not contain the darkness forever. Someone had to pay the final cost. The enemy pushed forward, striking harder, testing every barrier humans could muster. Smaller vessels crumpled under invisible pressure. Systems collapsed in moments. Crews vanished without warning. Yet, through the chaos, humans moved with calm precision, predicting the enemy's every reaction. Each loss bought more time, each sacrifice slowed the advancing darkness. The galaxy watched in silence, afraid to breathe. They had no idea the cost these humans were willing to bear. The captain gave the order that would decide everything. Prepare the final sequence. The old weapons stirred once more, this time at their ultimate power. Energy flowed across the fleet, not as a destructive wave, but as a binding force, closing space itself into a cage. The enemy shrieked silently, space bending around it in desperate resistance. Humans positioned themselves along the perimeter, holding steady, anchoring the force with their very presence. They had become part of the weapon. Alien commanders begged to assist, but the captain refused. "This is human duty," he said. "No one else can survive it, no one else can guide it, no one else can hold it." The fleets obeyed, stepping back, leaving the humans alone to face the darkness. The galaxy finally understood the burden humans carried. They were not fighting for conquest. They were not fighting for glory. They were fighting to save everyone else from the cost they alone must pay. As the final sequence activated, energy arcs spread across the human ships, merging into a network of light and force that reached deep into the enemy's form. Space itself resisted, bending violently, distorting stars, pulling light away. The enemy lashed out, striking with all its power, but it could not break the bond. The humans held firm, their ships shaking, creaking, and burning, yet unyielding. Every crew member knew the cost. Some would not survive. Some would be consumed by the very space they fought to seal. The captain walked the bridge slowly, touching consoles, acknowledging every crew member. His voice remained calm as he gave orders that would ensure the maximum effect of the weapon. "Hold steady," he said. "Do not falter. The galaxy depends on us." Outside, the enemy strained against the binding forces. Every movement it made tore at reality, and every tear pushed humans to the limit of endurance. The final battle was not fought with firepower alone. It was fought with will, sacrifice, and the unyielding courage that had defined humanity for centuries. Slowly, the enemy began to yield. Its massive form pulled back into the sealed region, drawn by the energy binding it. Humans maintained their positions, ensuring it could not escape. Every ship was tested to its limit. Hulls cracked, shields failed, crews vanished, but the human line held. Their unity and discipline had become more than strategy. It had become a living barrier that the darkness could not breach. At last, the enemy receded entirely into the forbidden zone. Space calmed, the distortions fading. Silence returned, broken only by the sounds of failing systems aboard the surviving human ships. The captain spoke once more, his voice steady despite exhaustion and loss. "The cost has been paid," he said. "We have contained it. We have bought time. The galaxy survives because we stood where none else could." The human fleet was shattered. Many ships were gone, lost to the darkness. Crews had fallen. The captain himself knew that their victory had come at a price higher than any alien could understand. Yet, in that silence, the galaxy began to grasp a simple truth. Humanity was not only powerful, it was willing to bear what no one else could. They had saved billions of lives, preserved civilizations, and ensured the galaxy's future, all at the cost of themselves. As the surviving humans regrouped, the galaxy watched in awe and fear. Legends had always spoken of human courage, but now, every observer understood it was real. Humanity had not fought for glory, for power, or for conquest. They had fought for life itself. And in the shadows of the Forbidden Zone, the galaxy learned that sometimes the greatest victories come not from domination, but from the ultimate sacrifice. The galaxy was silent. Stars flickered weakly as if exhausted by the struggle, and fleets drifted in the void, unsure of what remained real. The human warships, battered and burned, gathered near the edge of the Forbidden Zone. Many ships were lost, many crews gone, yet those that remained held steady. They were the guardians of a fragile peace, the last barrier between the darkness and every living world beyond. Across the galaxy, eyes watched with awe, fear, and growing respect. Humans had proven themselves more than warriors. They had become shields for life itself. The captain walked across the bridge of the flagship, surveying the remaining crew. Systems were failing one by one. Life support flickered. Weapons and shields were silent. Every human knew that their duty was nearly complete, and that the final step would demand the greatest sacrifice yet. Communication channels opened across the surviving fleets. The captain's voice, calm and firm, carried a weight that silenced every alien response. "We cannot return," he said. "The line we have held must remain. The Forbidden Zone must stay closed. If we step away, it will awaken again." Alien commanders whispered in disbelief. Some wanted to protest. Others wanted to offer assistance. But the humans' warning was absolute. "This is not your fight," the captain said. "It is ours. We have paid the cost before. We will do it again if necessary. You must remember only that life survives." Even as his words echoed across communication channels, the remaining human ships prepared for the final step. Every vessel was positioned with precision, forming a network around the sealed space, their hulls and energy fields linking in a lattice of protection that reached into the dark heart of the Forbidden Zone. The darkness stirred one last time, as if sensing the final act. Waves of distortion twisted around the human fleet, testing the bonds, searching for weakness. Some human vessels shuddered, their hulls cracking under the strain. Alarms blared, yet the crews did not flinch. Every movement, every adjustment, was practiced. The humans had trained for this. They had lived with the cost in mind, and they understood that what they were about to do would separate them from the galaxy they had saved. The captain activated the final containment protocols. The old weapons, once dormant for centuries, flared with a controlled brilliance that warped space and time around them. The darkness pulsed violently, shrieking without sound, bending reality in a desperate attempt to escape. Human ships absorbed the pressure, anchored the fields, and guided the enemy deeper into the sealed region. Slowly, the vast presence retreated, folding into the void it had tried to escape, and the Forbidden Zone finally closed, heavy and impenetrable. Silence returned, but it was not peace. The surviving humans drifted in space, systems failing, ships barely functional. Many had been lost, and those who remained were exhausted beyond measure. The captain addressed his crews one final time. "You have done what no one else could," he said. "We have protected the galaxy. Now, we step aside. Our duty ends here, though it will be remembered for generations." There was no celebration. There was only quiet pride and the unspoken knowledge that they had kept their promise at the highest cost. The alien fleets, watching from a distance, realized the magnitude of what had occurred. Humans had not fought for territory or glory. They had not sought revenge. They had fought for survival not for themselves alone, but for every species that might have been consumed by the darkness. Alien commanders whispered to one another, some with shame for past judgments, others with hope that humanity's example might inspire a new era of cooperation. The galaxy had witnessed courage of a scale previously unimaginable. The captain gave the order to sever all remaining connections to the human fleets. The lattice of ships, the network of energy fields, the very presence of humans holding the line, all of it would remain in position without guidance. The humans themselves would retreat into the void at the edge of the Forbidden Zone, where their ships would vanish from sensors and records alike. "This is our goodbye," he said quietly. "Remember us not as conquerors, but as guardians." As the surviving humans disengaged and drifted toward the edge of sensor range, fleets across the galaxy began to understand their magnitude. The destruction avoided, the lives saved, the peace maintained, these were not acts of simple bravery. They were acts of sacrifice, discipline, and unyielding commitment. For the first time in centuries, the galaxy understood what it meant when humans claimed a duty greater than fear. The lessons were written not in books or records, but in the living memory of every species that had survived the darkness. Finally, the human ships disappeared from view. Silence stretched across space once more, but it was different now. It was a silence filled with gratitude, respect, and awe. The galaxy knew that it had been protected by a species willing to pay the ultimate price, and that humanity's legacy would echo for generations. Though the humans were gone, their message remained clear. When humans stand guard, the universe can survive horrors that no one else can face. And so, in the quiet of the stars, humanity's goodbye became a legend that would never be forgotten. The galaxy was forever changed. The stars burned with a faint new light, and fleets drifted through space carrying the memory of what had occurred near the Forbidden Zone. Silence lingered, not from fear, but from reverence. Civilizations that had once dismissed humanity as reckless or aggressive now whispered stories of courage, discipline, and sacrifice. The humans had vanished, leaving no trace of their presence except the sealed darkness behind them and the billions of lives they had saved. The galaxy understood finally that this race was more than warriors. They were guardians of existence itself. Years passed slowly, and stories of the human intervention became legend. Historians tried to record every detail, but many events were impossible to verify. The ships had disappeared, and most evidence had vanished along with them. What remained were the survivors' memories and the civilizations that continued to thrive because of the humans' actions. On distant worlds, children were told tales of a race that appeared from nowhere, faced a force no one else could touch, and held the line when the galaxy itself trembled. The legend spoke not of conquest, but of duty, honor, and the courage to face horrors beyond imagination. The Galactic Council convened to reflect on the lessons learned. Their decisions now carried the weight of understanding that had come from observing humans in action. Policies shifted, alliances strengthened, and old rivalries softened. The humans had demonstrated that true power was not measured in fleets, weapons, or territory, but in the willingness to act when no one else could, and to sacrifice without question. Every council member knew that if humanity returned, it would not seek dominance. Humans had already proven that their loyalty was to life itself, not to personal gain. Scientists studied the remnants of the battle near the Forbidden Zone, finding energy signatures and distortions that defied all known laws. Some attempted to replicate the humans' methods, but failed. The humans' technology was not just advanced, it was inseparable from their will, their discipline, and their understanding of the universe's most dangerous forces. Engineers shook their heads in disbelief, realizing that no matter how much they learned, they could never truly match the humans' capacity to act under pressure. The galaxy had witnessed a species that could bend reality without arrogance, and it left every observer humbled. Legends grew faster than records. Pilots told stories of ships appearing from folded space, humans walking calmly through impossible odds, shielding worlds that would have otherwise been destroyed. Scholars debated over the ethics of such sacrifice, yet all agreed that humanity had taught the galaxy a lesson that could not be ignored. Survival sometimes required more than strength. It required courage, foresight, and the willingness to carry burdens that no one else could bear. The humans had stood where all others feared, and in doing so, they had reshaped the galaxy's understanding of power. Meanwhile, hidden corners of the galaxy began to feel subtle changes. The Forbidden Zone remained sealed, a quiet testament to the humans' victory. Energy fields held strong, and the darkness beyond stars remained trapped. But something lingered in the minds of those who had faced it, an awareness that even in silence, humanity's presence had reshaped the balance of space. Civilizations began to honor the humans not as rulers or conquerors, but as sentinels who had intervened when no one else could. Monuments were built, festivals held, and records passed down through generations, all remembering a race that had protected the galaxy at the greatest cost imaginable. Centuries later, humans returned, not as soldiers, but as observers and teachers. They did not demand allegiance or tribute. They did not seek recognition. Their ships moved quietly, weaving through space to watch over the civilizations that had survived. When contacted, they spoke of balance, vigilance, and preparation, passing lessons learned from their encounter with the darkness. Many worlds welcomed them with awe, some with fear, but all with respect. The galaxy had learned that humanity's presence meant protection, not power, and that their guidance was worth more than any weapon or fleet. The captain, whose name had become legend, appeared in transmission only once more, speaking calmly to the council and fleets. "We do not return for glory," he said. "We return to remind you that vigilance is duty, and duty is often invisible. We are the guardians of what you cannot face alone. Remember this, and you may survive the next challenge." The words resonated across civilizations, carrying the weight of experience and the quiet authority of those who had faced the impossible. Generations grew up knowing humans as both myth and reality. Schools taught their strategies, their ethics, and their sacrifices. Artists depicted their courage. Leaders invoked their example when making decisions about survival, diplomacy, and exploration. Humans had become the standard by which courage was measured, the benchmark for what it meant to act for the greater good. Even the most skeptical scientists and warriors learned humility before their legacy. And so, the galaxy remembered, not as a story of conquest or war, but as a story of guardianship. Humanity had appeared in the darkest hour, faced a threat beyond comprehension, and paid a cost so high that few could imagine it. The universe had survived, civilizations flourished, and the stars shone once more, all because a single species had chosen duty over fear. The legacy of humans endured, whispered through generations. When humans stand vigilant, the galaxy can endure horrors that no one else can face, and life itself has a chance to continue.